We welcome in this morning Seth Grove, who is a state representative from the local 196 legislative district. I'm proud to say he's my representative. He's also the chairman of the House State Government Committee that works on stuff regarding elections. And, of course, we're really done kind of tired of talking about elections, and yet let's talk about it some more. This morning, we welcome in Seth
Gary,
Grove.
good morning.
Good morning, Seth. How you doing? Monday morning, nothing more we like to talk about than elections, but I was looking at an article. I was getting back in the swing of things here since vacation, and I was reading a piece here about the GOP fight over 2020 election audit brews in Pennsylvania. It was an Associated Press article that came out, and it was talking about the trip that Doug Mastriano and I think a couple other guys made out to Arizona to check about this count that's going on in Maricopa County. And they were looking to get some support here on doing the same kind of thing. And you came out and talked a little bit about that. And you said, quote, I think this last Thursday, that the chamber will not be authorizing any further audits on any previous election. Talk a little bit about that, because I know Doug Mastriano kind of alluded to your pullback there, and wanted to get your take on it this morning.
Yeah, if I did two tweets. One was on the House authorization of an audit. It was right after the election, not 2 weeks from November 3rd. The House voted to authorize an audit of the 2020 election. We have an audit kind of committee, an arm of the General Assembly. It's called Legislative Budget Finance Committee. It is a bipartisan, bicameral committee with members of the House and Senate who sit as the kind of the management team. So we authorized them to do a full audit of the 2020 election. The management team on party line vote voted it down with a vote 2-1, 2 Democrats, one Republican. Senator Mensch was the one yes vote for the Republicans. Our other member, he's now a retired House member, wasn't present for that vote. But a tie vote fails anyway. So it got shot down. So the method we use is going into constitutional oversight. So we couldn't get the audit done. Obviously, we have a governor that's not going to sign and approve an audit bill moving forward. So we decided to go with oversight. So we did our 10 comprehensive election hearings, the most comprehensive election hearings done by any state in the entire nation. We have our 100-page report. We're now at a point where we will be unveiling legislation later this week, comprehensive election reforms to fix our very broken election system. So the follow-up tweet was basically, we did our work. We authorized it using the mechanism we have in front of us. We are not going to get into we're not going to spend the time and resources to get another veto from the governor. Our focus is actually changing the election law, because we know we have a good product. We know we did our work. We know we found salient issues that need to be fixed through the entire process, from voter registration all the way to the post-election audit process cycle and everything else in between. So our focus solely is to get election law changes done, so people have confidence in the elections, so we have a transparent system, and make sure that it's focused on allowing voters to vote.
So you're essentially, and I don't want to put words in your mouth here, Seth, but you're essentially saying we're not litigating the past election. We're talking about things that either potentially could be problems and how to make the elections better. But we're looking to the future, not to the past right now. Is that a fair statement?
Right. And listen, if Arizona, it's basically a recount. Recounts find something massive. It's a game changer. They're not there yet. And frankly, if they're doing the audit process accurately, we shouldn't hear anything about findings until the report is written and the work is done. So let it continue. I know they're way behind their initial time frame. Let it get completed. We need to get election law done, because 2022 is critically important. So we need to make sure we get good election policy to make sure that it's the voters who pick the winners, not the process.
Well, and we were talking this morning a little bit earlier, I think, and I said, we're talking with Scott Perry earlier this morning. I said we need to have election laws now where we all feel good about it, whether our side wins or whether our side loses. It can no longer be, well, my side won, everything must be okay. Well, my side lost, someone cheated. That can't, and that's where unfortunately, it seems like we've been the last few elections. But I was looking around. I don't see where any county election board or prosecutor or state official has raised a concern over any sort of widespread election fraud in this past election. Have I missed something there? I'm not saying people haven't raised the question, and I'm not saying people,
Right.
haven't said, there's always going to be some cheating in elections, but widespread, I haven't seen that anywhere. The specter has been raised by people, but the specter and what the facts are two different things.
Right, and from what we found, a lot of the issues here in Pennsylvania is bad election law compliance. Here's a great example, right? So I joined our House leadership team in sending a letter to the election officials in Philadelphia. We basically said, listen, there's this thing called undated mail-in ballots. So if you don't have the date on them, you can't count them. That is statute. That is backed by the Supreme Court, and there's Department of State guidance. So kind of all three wings have agreed that you can't do that. Now, they didn't like the law, so they said, well, we're still going to count these things. So we sent a letter that says, listen, if you count them, we will impeach you. You're violating the law. You're willingly violating the law. You can't do that. They ended up backing down.
Saw that, yeah.
But those are the problems in the election law. And too, like Philly, you got Crancer, their DA. He actually doesn't care about enforcing laws at all in that city. You have Josh Shapiro. Where's he at? Like that is a violation of the election law. His team should have been in there investigating. And there's a couple other counties like Montgomery County and Chester County where the elections directors decided to count those votes ahead of time. Where is his agency at actually upholding the election laws that we pass? He's an absentee audit or attorney general, and it's problematic. But these are the kind of things we got to fix moving forward to make sure we do have confidence. And that's the position the House has been in. We're on the precipice of unveiling and moving the largest election reforms in the entire country. We're really proud of the work that the committee has done. We're really proud of the policies we're looking at putting into place, and they will. We're closing a lot of loopholes, and we're providing a lot of transparency, so people have that confidence. No matter which way election goes, they will have the confidence in election. And we need to get them in place. We got big elections coming up in Pennsylvania in 2022. The House, the U.S. House, the U.S. Senate rests on Pennsylvania elections. In 2024, the president, the winner of the presidential elections, coming through Pennsylvania again. And we have to be like Florida. After 2000, Florida had bad election laws. They fixed them. They are now the leading state. We can do the same thing here in Pennsylvania, but we've got to focus on policy. We have to put our energy into making sure that we put pressure on the governor and some of the Democrats who feel like everything's fine and it's not, put the leverage on them.
The chairman of the State Government Committee on the House State Government Committee, he is Representative Seth Grove from the local 196th Legislative District. And we were talking about election matters. And we have Bill in from York here, has a question for a legislator this morning. Bill, good morning. Welcome to the show. And your question for Seth this morning.
Yes, good morning, Seth. The question for you, and that's this. You talked a few seconds ago with regards to the pressure that you feel that you can place upon the governor. The governor is a lame duck governor, and whatever work that you've done, yeoman as it been, what are the chances of this ever really passing? Because it's going to be obviously to the Democrats' detriment and the Republicans' advantage. And with him being the governor, having the veto pen, are you going to have strength within both houses to be able to override his veto?
Thank you, Bill. Appreciate the call. And Seth, I'll let you take a shot at that.
Yeah, so, Bill, great to hear from you this morning. Obviously, getting veto overrides have not come into play yet in the General Assembly. I would agree that the governor is in the lame duck position, particularly if we can get maybe a 2-year budget done and get some other stuff lined up. We've really put him into lame duck position a lot earlier. But he still does have his veto pen. So the goal is to have a strategic bill that puts a lot of pressure on the governor and my Democratic colleagues. For instance, there's a lot of people requesting a lot of changes from County Commissioners Association, Disability Rights Network, across the board. So building in those stakeholder groups to help push a bill over the line is an important task to make sure that we have a broad base of support heading into getting that bill on the governor's desk, working with our colleagues to make sure that we address their concerns with election reform. So it's not a bill you just throw up on his desk for positioning for a veto. It's critically important we get it done, and you have to be very strategic in the policies, how you message, and how you handle the process. Because we've done the work, because we have so many groups on the record requesting changes, we can build those into the bill to, again, build broad-based support for election changes, and, again, helping to build that support base to get a bill signed into law by the governor.
Let me get Bob from Hanover in here next for you, Seth, with a question. Bob, good morning. Welcome to the show. Your question for Seth this morning.
Hi, good morning. Well, it's partly a statement. The election, I was an election official many years. The Republicans, because of Trump, claim that there has been fraudulent elections. They claim there's been fraud and that they need to change it. And yet, in every investigation done so far in almost every state, nothing has shown as irregular. Sure, you're going to have the occasional blip, but nothing. And so, Seth Grove, you, sir, are doing the exact same thing, fraudulently pushing onto the taxpayers the lie that there's something wrong with our election process and it needs to be dramatically changed somehow in order to avoid these quirks that don't exist except by your claiming that they exist.
Well, but I think his committee, Bob, just to step in real quickly, and I'll let Seth answer for himself then. But when you're looking at the possibility of making sure that our elections are, we had a lot more mail-in ballots this year. We had a lot more questions like that. Again, I think I haven't seen any basic widespread thing as you haven't, Bob. I'm with you on that. And yet at the same time, how many times in the last couple presidential elections have we had Democrats screaming about Russian involvement and all that kind of stuff? We had all that, and yet nothing really seemed to back that up. So, when questions abound, I think all of us, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives, liberals, just Americans, ought to be able to kind of agree that we want fair elections. But let me have Seth answer that. Bob, thanks for your question this morning. Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, great question. It's something we hit, and you kind of hear the tone of the general public right now, right? There's been no proven widespread election fraud,
right?
Or on the other hand, we know there's mass fraud. You need to go uncover it and go prosecute people.
Those are the two polar ends, yeah.
Right. So let's get into the reality. There are significant issues with our election law. I think I discussed this with you earlier, Gary, but number one, through our hearings, elections directors do not need to validate voter registration applications before they place people on the voter rolls. That is immensely problematic on a number of fronts because that gives you access to voting. Let's go back to something else. People, when they watch the election night, later on after election night, they sometimes see subtraction of counts. That happened this last time. So we asked the Department of State, and this is what happens. When counties send in their data files to the Department of State, so they load it on their website, and people are watching this as it happens. Sometimes counties send in double files. So when we saw a negative vote in the constitutional amendments, like maybe a few days after the election, the primary election, it was actually Montgomery County setting a double file to the Department of State. Department of State caught it and withdrew it. The problem is they don't tell anybody and they don't communicate these issues.
I'm going to have to jump out real quick right here, Seth. So to be continued, my friend, because I think there's a lot of things to be discussed here. I'd like to pick it up with you again if we can in coming days. So I'll give you a buzz. We'll set up another time. But thank you for the work on this and appreciate you taking the time this morning to explain some of this to us. Thank you.
Will do, Gary. Thank you.
Take care. Seth Grove, state representative from the 196, also the chairman of the State Government Committee